In this video, I'm going to talk about your app launch strategy. Now, when you launch your app, this is a very critical and important time because there should be a lot of people noticing your app, and it's where you really want to get a lot of traction and not slip into the sea of other apps in the App Store. You don't want to get lost, and so you want to make sure that you come out with your best foot forward, getting downloads and getting people to notice you. Now, there are many strategies when it comes to launching your app, and to be honest, the groundwork should have been laid weeks or months prior to releasing your app. And this is outside of the scope of this course, but really you should have been creating some buzz and getting the word out there to on social media or to other channels of media, just saying that there's this app that's coming, that we're working on it, and maybe getting beta testers in or getting the media to try out your app beforehand as a beta release, submitting press releases so that it could be on the launch day you have it announced to the world and to the media that you're launching this app. So there's a lot of work that actually happens prior to your launch day. And to be honest, this is something that is outside of the scope of this course. This course really focuses on App Store optimization. We're just looking at what to do within the App Store. So, I mean, there's definitely many strategies to when you launch your app and what you should be doing and what you can do prior to that. And if people are interested, I will release a course on that. If you are interested, please let me know, and that's something that I could focus on. Just send me a message or an email just to let me know that you are interested. But for the purposes of this video, we're talking about when to launch your app, and specifically what day is best to launch your app. So on launch day, these are the days that I find are busiest in the App Store. And so listed from the busiest to the least busy, it's Saturday, then Sunday, then Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and then comes in Monday as the least busy day on the App Store. And when I talk about busy, I mean how many people are searching in the App Store, how many people are downloading apps on those days. Saturday is the one where most people are downloading apps. There's the most downloads, and then Monday, there's the least amount of downloads. So which day is best? And that is the magic question. And there's many opinions on this, on which day is best. In this article, it says Sunday is the best day to launch your mobile app. But in another article, it says the best day to launch your mobile game is Monday through Wednesday. And another article says, submit your app on Monday and release it on a Thursday. So many people have their own opinion on which day is the best day to launch their app. And I'm sure all of them have very valid reasons. In fact, Monday to Wednesday, the reason why you would want to launch it on one of those days is because advertisers are less likely to be advertising on that day. But Sunday is probably very good because it's on a weekend, and that's one of the most busy download days. And the argument about Thursday is because Apple actually refreshes their featured apps list. And so on a Thursday, and that's why Thursday is always a good argument to launch your app. Now, the biggest problem with all of these opinions is it changes all the time. So if someone announces that Sunday is the best day to launch your app, you're going to have an increase, many, many more people that are going to be launching their app on a Sunday because that's what everyone's saying. It's the best day to launch. So suddenly you have this influx of apps that are being launched just on Sundays. And eventually that will hit a critical mass where Sundays are no longer the favorable days to launch your app. And so then Sundays, someone will analyze it again and say, okay, it's now Thursdays that are the best days to launch. And so everyone's going to shift their focus and start launching their apps on Thursdays instead, and so on and so forth. And so you can see that when you listen to what other people are saying, eventually those days will no longer become the best day to launch because of this reason. And so we need to figure out for ourselves which days or which day is the best day to launch our app. And that could be very different depending on the category as well as the type of app we have and the competition. Ideally, you want to launch when there is low competition and high traffic. And so if Saturday has high traffic, you need to consider how many apps are being released or how competitive that day is, and see whether it's worthwhile to launch on that day. And so just because there's a high traffic day doesn't necessarily mean it's great to launch your app, because if it's a high competition day as well, then you can easily get lost in a sea of competition. The problem with this is that both Android and iOS, or both the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store, they've made it very difficult for publishers like you and me to track how much competition there is being released on each day. There were a couple of methods in the past where you could sort of track this, but Apple's changed a bunch of stuff and made it much more difficult to easily track how many apps are being released on which day. So in the end, this is my conclusion, is don't sweat it. What I would recommend is stick with Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, just because those 3 days are typically the high traffic, lots of download days. People are looking for apps on those days. And I would then test and track your results so you can improve on them in the future. And try a Friday, try a Saturday, try a Sunday, and see what kind of results you get. And this will vary based on category, based on what your app is all about, based on what time of year it is even. But it is something important to just try it out, test it and track it, and see how you can improve on it in the future. A final launch strategy I want to share with you is don't automatically release your app once it gets approved. With Apple, there's a review process and there's the option to automatically release it once it gets approved. I would not do that, and instead I'd set the launch date sometime into the future. And what I do is I actually set it a year into the future just to make sure that it doesn't get launched by accident. That's specifically with iOS. With Android, you don't have to worry about this because there is no review process and you can launch it whenever you like. But I would hold off on releasing it the moment you submit it into the Google Play Store. So once your app is approved, it will be put on hold until you choose when to launch it. And what I would recommend is you would set your launch date 2 days in advance from the day or for the day you wish to launch your app. And the reason for that is because I had mentioned in a previous video, there's over 150 app stores in different countries all over the world. And the time zones change throughout. And it's really hard to track. I guess Australia is probably one of the very first time zones. And you kind of want to make sure you have a full 24-hour period of your app being listed in every single app store on the day that you launch, because that will maximize your exposure and your visibility in all the app stores. So again, I just put in this point, this ensures that your app will be listed in all countries for the full 24-hour period, regardless of time zone. So as an example of that, let's say you want to launch your app at midnight Pacific time, which is the same time zone as Cupertino, where Apple is. And you would have already missed several other time zones throughout the world and shrunk your window of that day being in the app stores for those countries. And so you don't want to miss that time because that is precious time. Let's say, for example, Japan, they may only have 8 hours of seeing your app being launched on that day if you were to launch it at a different time zone. So you want to set your launch date 2 days in advance so that regardless of what time zone the App Store is opening at, your app will be launched right when that 24-hour cycle restarts in whatever country it's being launched in. And so you can maximize the visibility and exposure for all the app stores in all countries for that full 24-hour period.